What's up, guys? Today I want to talk about something I call the simp strategy. Okay, the simp strategy. This is something that is really basic. Probably won't talk a whole long time about this because it's really just kind of, like I said, basic and obvious, right? Like it's just really a simple strategy. Okay, so obviously we all know about white knights, right? We all know about the male feminist, right? The wolf in sheep's clothing, right? The real abuser, the real user, right? And because what is what is somebody who is trying to manipulate? What's he going to do? He's going to pretend to be on your side, or he or she, whomever is. They're going to pretend to be on your side, and this is where gaslighting. The term gaslighting comes in. That's sort of how gaslighting is done. When we're talking about narcissists, they call it love bombing, right? Where you pretend like you are, buddy buddy with somebody, and you act like, oh yeah, it's all good, because you want to use that person, because you want to manipulate them in some way. You want to get something from them, right? So when we're talking about the simp strategy, this is the simp strategy, right? It's very obvious. White knights, right? This is their MO, right? Their modus operandi, the way they move. Oh yes, girl, I'm different. I care all about you. I care all about your plight as a woman. I'm all for feminism. I don't care about your past. I don't care if you sleep around. I think sleeping around is empowering. These men are lying, essentially. These men are telling. They're not telling women how they really feel, and the reason why is because they themselves don't really have self-esteem. Because a man who has self-esteem does not want used goods. A man who has self-esteem and who has self-worth and who has, a standardized, or I should say a set, viewpoint of himself based upon standards, right? Well, you know what? I'm not going to compromise. I'm not going to date this slutty woman. I'm not going to, right? Guys who have self-worth in that way, right? Who are not, what's the word I'm looking for? They're not desperate, right? Those guys don't want used woman, used goods. Now, of course, I've argued this many times in the past, is that, do we have a choice in 2020? All the women are, they're all out sleeping around. They've all been used, right? So one could argue and say, you know what? You gotta settle. You gotta lower your standards, because all the women are out there sleeping around. Maybe there's an argument there, but I would say that, a quality man is going to look for a quality woman, and I still hold to my guns and I say a quality woman is not out sleeping around, right? A quality woman is not riding the cock carousel. A quality woman, and you might have to go younger. You might have to look for a younger woman who has values, who just is a rare exception that her parents raised her with morals, and she doesn't go sleep around, if that's possible, right? But the simp strategy, again, is to sort of pretend to be on your side, right? I'm for feminism, because they want something from you. Well, what do they want from a woman? They want sex, right? They want a relationship. And because they are not the alpha Chad guys, right, they are not in a position to really pick and choose. So they kind of take what they can get. And a lot of times these guys end up with damaged, used goods women, right? And a lot of times what these women do is they look at these guys and they say, oh, well, this guy, he's kind of an ally. He doesn't care about my past, right? He doesn't judge me for how many men I've slept with. He's not, what she's really saying is he doesn't have high standards, and he's very, inviting and accommodating, and oh, I love you, and like, you would think that that's a good thing. Like, it seems like it's a good thing, right? Well, you should love somebody for who they really are and all this stuff. But from the strategy of this man, what he's really doing is he's figured out a way to adapt out of desperation, right? He's like, hey, he's put up a sign that says, I'm not like the other guys. And what he's not, out and out saying, I don't have any standards. He's not out and out saying, I'm just going to take whatever I can get. He's not saying that directly. He's saying it indirectly. He's saying, I will love you for who you are. Like, I'll treat you different. I'm different. And the reason why he's saying that is because he's desperate. The reason why he's saying that is because he has no standards. He has no choices. He girls aren't giving him the time of day. He doesn't have options. So he's got to adapt, and he's got to say, hey, you know what? I'm different. Nature is like that. Animals adapt to their environment. They adapt to survive. They adapt to get things that they need in order to survive. So a man like that, who has no options, who has no choice of women, he's going to put out a sign saying, I'll accept you for who you are, for your messed up past. And invariably that guy is going to get used goods, because the used goods women are trying to, again, and this goes back to the female dating strategy, which I've talked about a lot. The female dating strategy is to sell sex, and to get what they want, to barter with sex as a tool to get what they want, which is a relationship, a long-term relationship with a high-value guy, right? Well, a lot of times their strategy leads them, or this strategy, that strategy really never changes. What changes is the type of guy they're looking for, right? Women will seek out the bad boys at first, because this is what they're attracted to, the alpha bad boys. And once they realize those guys won't settle down with them, right? Because all they're offering is sex, and the alpha bad boy has choice, right? So he's like, he can get sex from anybody, so why would he settle with you just if that's all you're offering is sex, you see? So she realizes she can't get that guy. So at some point, she's going to transition over to the nice guy, right? Or the docile beta provider. This is what we say in the red pill manosphere. We say alpha fucks, beta bucks, right? So at some point she's going to transition, right? She's still using that same strategy. She's still bartering with sex. It's just that the type of guys she's trying to barter with has changed. She realizes that she's not going to be able to settle down with those high value guys, with those guys who have an abundance of women. So she's going to change her strategies. She's going to say, you know what? I'm no longer going after these high value guys over here who all the other girls want. I'm going after this nice guy, beta guy, who girls don't want, but he's going to treat me right. I'm going to settle down with him because he's going to accept he's going to accept me from my past. And so she thinks in her mind that she's getting the best of both worlds. She thinks that, okay, yeah, I had all my fun, had a lot of sex, that was great. Now it's time to play the marriage game. Now it's time to settle down and find a guy with money. And this is what I see a lot. This is what happens a lot in today's day and age. So from his perspective, from his standpoint, he realizes that. Okay, well, she's out in her 20s getting fucked, chasing men, doing porn, doing all this scummy, promiscuous shit. So I'm going to sit around here and I'm going to wait, right? And I'm going to stack my chips. I'm going to get my career going. I'm going to have a nice job. And then once I get that figured out, then I can use that to barter to get a woman, because women are bartering with sex, men are bartering with resources. This is the exchange, right? And what I'm going to do is I'm going to be the guy, I'm going to be the different guy. I'm not going to have high standards. I'm going to come across like I'll love you for who you really are, right? So all this really is the simp strategy. All this really is a strategy that he's using to say, hey, you know what, I'm different. And it's coming out of a place of scarcity. It's coming out of a place where he's in a desperate scenario because he can't get laid. He's not that good looking, or he's kind of goofy, he doesn't dress well, he's a little socially awkward, whatever. He's not being picked, right? Because if you're being picked, you're not going to want to settle down with a messed up hoe, right? If women want you, you're gonna go for the highest value woman. You're gonna go for a woman who's who not a lot of guys have slept with, or at least you think not a lot of guys have slept with. Again, that's an argument that is valid, which is that all these women are out sleeping around. So it's like, from the simp's perspective, he could argue that, and he could say, well, they're all out sleeping around, so what does it matter? Okay, but again, they're not sleeping with you, so I understand what your strategy is, right? So this is the simp strategy. The simp strategy is to say, "Hey, I'm different. You can come settle down with me, and I'll take your baggage. I'll take your STDs. I'll look the other way. I'll take the fact that you're probably a narcissist. I'll look the other way. I'll let you run the relationship. I'll look the other way. You probably got kids from a past relationship. I'll raise your kids." Like, this is, there you go. Like that's the day and age that we're living in. This is the simp strategy, right? So, first of all, what's wrong with this? Well, I mean, you can listen to Joe Rogan, right? You can listen to Joe Rogan talks about this. These guys are weak men, because a weak man settles for used goods, right? How it really should be is people should be getting married at like 22, right? When they get out of college, people should be getting married, and they shouldn't be riding the cock carousel. Parents should raise their children better. And it used to be a lot better. Now it's normal. Now it's like everybody's out banging, right? So everybody's got used goods, and it just, how much damage that produces. The Bible says the sins of the parents are passed down to the children. So if you're out being promiscuous, and you're out sowing to the wind, I mean, this is literally in the Bible, and I believe it's true. If you're out sowing to the wind, your child's going to go out and sow to the wind. Your child is going to go out and be a slut when they grow up. It passes down, like these sins pass down. Not only that, you're damaging yourself, and you probably develop. I have not met a whole lot of women who are sleeping around, who don't develop a bad, jaded attitude, or don't become narcissistic, or aren't manipulative, or aren't liars in some way. It goes with the territory. If you're out sleeping around, you're probably a gaslighter. You're probably like a succubus type of woman, right? You are probably going to be lying to men. You're probably going to be a cheater. It just goes with the territory. It's just what it is. Like, not a lot of women who go out and sleep around a lot don't end up pregnant, don't end up with STDs, don't end up with a messed up attitude or a messed up perspective on life, don't become jaded, right? And then what do they want? Then they want to retire their jersey, and they want to settle down with the nice, docile beta. And there he is, the simp guy. And his strategy is to say, "Hey, yeah, I accept you for your past. It's all good. I'll come and raise your baggage. I'll come and help you out," right? So this is what I see, and the problems with this are rife. Like I said, listen to Joe Rogan. He talks about it. Like it's when he's talking about his Wounded Gazelles video, when he's talking about how the guy's like, "Hey, I'm different. I'm not like these other guys." Like, yeah, because you don't have standards, right? So not only is she's getting a weak man, first of all, he's getting a damaged woman. So what kind of kids are they going to raise, right? And is that really going to be a loving relationship? Is that really going to be a solid relationship? Like, "Oh, I just forget about your past." And I've heard guys, in the past say, "Well, her past is none of my business." What the hell do you mean? It's absolutely your business. If you're going to be like, would you say that same thing about a car? Like, "Oh, well, the previous owners of this car, and what happened to this car before I bought it is none of my business." Like, absolutely not. You wouldn't. You want to know exactly what happened to that car, so you could know how well it's going to drive for as long as you own it, right? And not to say that men own women, but as long as we're going to be with them, we should want to know some of their history, so we can predict what they're going to be like with us, so we can predict if we're going to have a good future with them. If she was just out sleeping around and blah, 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 chances are she's going to cheat on you someday. Chances are she's going to miss that life, and she's going, "Oh, this married life is boring," and she's going to freaking cheat on you, or her past is going to catch up to her in some other way, or it's like she's not going to be able to pair bond with you. I mean, the list goes on and on. Like, the more partners a woman has, the less able she is to love you. And then what kind of love relationship are you going to have if she's not able to really love you that much? She's just marrying you for your money. And then it's like, what is your what is your relationship going to be like? Well, I love him and he loves me, but it's all about the money, and it's all about because he's able to accept me and all these things. And it's like, that's not your first choice. That's not who you really should be with. That is a settled scenario. That is like lowered expectations. That is like, sort of, what's the word I'm looking for? Sort of an arrangement scenario. And I see so many relationships like that. And it's like they have these standards or boundaries or whatever you want to call it, and it's like, it's weird, like, well, he respects me for who I am, and it's like, you're just not real. Like, it's not a real, it's like, well, I gotta walk this line, like Johnny Cash said, I walked the line. Like, you're doing all this weird gymnastics, like this weird interpersonal gymnastics with your partner, when you could just be real, when you could just be like, and then, that begs the question, why aren't women real? Why aren't women, honest? Why aren't women upfront? Because they have all these layers of like hiding. They have all these layers of like deception and manipulation. Like, a lot of women don't even tell the men how many women they've been with, or excuse me, how many men they've been with. A lot of women will hide that. A lot of women have all this deception and like pretend like they're this angel, pretend like, no, I was never out sleeping around. Like, come on, you're a good looking woman, you got nice tits, you dress sexy. Like, I know what you were out doing for the last 5 and 10 years. Like, I'm not stupid. Like, you think this girl's not having sex? You think this girl is just sitting at home waiting for the right man to come along? Like, hell no. These women are out having sex. So it's like, I don't know, man, call it what you want, but it's like, I just don't want to use goods. I don't want a woman who was sucking a bunch of other dudes' dicks. I don't want a woman who, wasn't looking for love at age 20, who was out sleeping around, who was out at the bar, out at the clubs, getting taken home every weekend. Like, I don't want that, because I know she's not gonna be able to raise them. Why would I want a woman to raise my kids who used to be a slut? Why would I want a woman to raise my kids who had an OnlyFans? Why would I want a woman to raise my kids who did porn? Why would I want a woman to raise my kids, who was out sleeping around, smoking weed, drinking? I wouldn't want that. That's not a moral person. That's not a quality character person. Like, I want good kids. I want my kids to grow up to be good. So why would I want to settle for used goods like that? Right? But these simps, they have no, there's no standards, there's no self-esteem, there's no self-worth, and they take what they can get. And you again, you have that argument where, well, we have no choice. This is what women have left us with. They've chosen to go out and sleep around because of second and third wave feminism, where they feel like, oh, it's my body, my choice, I can do whatever I want. Yeah, but there's consequences, right? So you could argue, you could say, well, we have no other choice. Okay, maybe. I'll give you that. Like, maybe we don't have a lot of choice, but still, maybe we do. Maybe we don't know. Maybe we should not settle. Maybe if we stop settling, women will get the picture, because it's like, what does this do? It enables them. Oh, well, I know that some guys out there who will love me, some guys out there who will still treat me right, even though I'm used goods, even though I'm slutty. Like, someone out there will love me. Like, maybe, yeah, but do you ever think that maybe you shouldn't sleep around? Do you ever think that maybe you shouldn't have to put him in a compromising situation where he has to choose between a slut and maybe being lonely, or what I mean? Anyway, so that's sort of the explanation of the simp strategy. All right, so I just want to do a little bit of education for you guys and sort of give you a background on that. Do I like these guys? Do I think they're good? No, not really. And people will argue, and they'll say, well, someone's got to love these women, someone's got to raise their kids from another guy. It's like, why'd they get in that position in the first place? Why did they put themselves in a position where they got pregnant or had a kid out of wedlock in the first place? Because their parents failed, because society failed, because second, third wave feminism is bullshit, because it's evil. It encourages, damaging behavior, right? It's like, why not find somebody who was raised better? Why not find somebody who has real morals, Anyway. And then women, on the flip side, women will come around and argue, and they'll say, well, men want sex, men are encouraging sex, and they'll blame it on men. It's like, maybe, but you don't have to do it. If you say you want love, and all this stuff, don't ruin yourself before you find love. Don't ruin yourself before you find somebody who really loves you, because then you're going to have a settled scenario, like, oh, well, I messed that up. Oh, well, I didn't look for the right guy when I was 20. Instead, I went and chased the bad boys and had a bunch of sex. Now I got to settle with this guy just because he's a good provider, just because he's a docile, steady man, and he's a nice guy and he accepts me for my past. Now I got to settle, right? Like, maybe you could have avoided that if you would have just been, honest and upfront and real and not been a slut. But anyway, all right, that's all I got to say about that. Appreciate you guys listening. It's been Jay Lee Northwest Podcast. Peace.